Hey everyone, our today's topic of discussion is the novel The Sign of Four, written by Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. Before we proceed with the story of the novel, let us see about the characters of the novel. There are two main characters in the novel, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson. The secondary characters here are Mary Marston, Thaddeus Sholto, and the minor characters in the novel are Toby, Major Sholto, and Tonga. Let us now learn about each character. Our first major character is of Sherlock Holmes. He is a main character and brilliant detective in the novel, with an exceptionally keen eye for details. He is known for his discourse, his logical deduction, and his early use of forensic science. Holmes is the one who solves the cases. He is deeply concerned with his own mental stimulation and tries to keep his mind occupied. Holmes shows little emotions and only really cares about the facts of the cases. He is proud of his mental capacities and often dismissive towards those who he perceives to be less intelligent. In the opening chapters, he demonstrates his power of observation and deduction. This separates him from the common man and makes him seem different. He worked as a consulting detective for 23 years, and 17 of those were with John Watson. Holmes' only true friend is Dr. John Watson. He maintains little to no connection with any females except for his housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson. He also has a strong sense of justice and at the end of the novel encourages Small to tell the truth so that he is not wrongly accused of Sholto's murder. The next major character is of Mary Marston. Miss Mary Marston appears early in the novel and brings two mysteries to Sherlock Holmes. She has been searching unsuccessfully for her father and has received several mysterious pearls in the mail. Mary is described as blonde with pale skin, having fluttering image of a gentle, collected and modest woman. She was working as a governess when she contacted Holmes. Her mother died soon after Mary's birth, and Mary was educated in England. At the end of the story, Watson proposes to Miss Marston and she accepts. She is 27 years old when introduced. Mary is not really interested in the treasure and the fortune it would bring, and she is happy when the chest is empty. Mary's father was a senior captain within his group and disappeared in London when visiting his daughter. He was a good man who felt guilty about his action in the war. He died when his heart gave out and he fell cracking his skull. Our next character is of Thaddeus Sholto, Major Sholto's son, a strange looking character who lives in a richly decorated house. Thaddeus seemed to be more conscientious than his brother. He is the one who sends the pearl to Mary Marston. He does this to try to share his wealth after finding that his father was involved in Major Marston's death. He collects art and contacts Holmes when he finds that his brother has located the treasure chest. He is heavily disappointed in his father's action. He is constantly poor health and is very nervous. Thaddeus is originally arrested as a suspect in his brother's murder, as it was known that they fought the night before the murder, but later set free when secure alibis are. The next one is Toby, a small mongrel dog who helps Holmes and Watson traces the origin of the creosote. Toby is a symbol of devotedness and faithfulness. John Watson. The story is written in the first person with Dr. John Watson as narrator. He has lived with Sherlock Holmes for several years, during which time he has witnessed his companion at work on numerous difficult cases. He also narrates all but four of Holmes' adventures. He was originally named Ormond Secker before Conan Doyle decided on John Watson. He was a doctor in the army and has a bullet in his leg, which was occasionally impeded his movement. He is also very good shot. Watson has a strong sense of honor and discretion. He is loyal and at the start of the novel is concerned for his friend's well-being. On occasion, he tries to solve cases without Holmes, with a limited degree of success. He is a more empathetic and human counterpart of Holmes. He is very intelligent but lacking in power of observation. In the end, when the treasure has been lost, he feels able, at last, to declare his love for Miss Mary Marston and later married her. Next character is of Major Sholto. He is the father of Bartholomew and Thaddeus Sholto, an officer and friend of Arthur Marston. He was the one who was originally approached about the location of the treasure, as Jonathan Small believed that his greed would make him an easy target. Sholto, suffering from gambling debits, double-crossed Small and Captain Marston. He is tasked with the retrieval of the treasure, but takes it all for himself, leaving Small and Marston without anything. When Marston later confronts him, Marston has a heart attack and dies. Sholto hides the body and keeps the treasure. He lives the rest of his life plagued by extreme guilt and fear. On his deathbed, he had a slight change of heart and instructed his sons to share the treasure with Miss Marston. But he died before revealing the treasure location after seeing Jonathan Small's. The next is Tonga. Tonga is an Icelander who is absolutely devoted to Small. Small nursed Tonga back to health when Tonga was ill. He helped Small escape and break into Sholto's house. Tonga is the one who killed Bartholomew. He is now considered to be rather racist character, with dolls describing him as animalistic and savage. This reflects the Eurocentric mindset of Doyle's time. Let us go through the symbol in the novel. Toby, the dog. Beside Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes has another helper. It is a dog, the English bulldog Toby. This sensible animal always helps Sherlock to find criminals, and despite of the fact that it is not his own dog, this animal nevertheless remains faithful to Sherlock. Toby is a symbol of devotedness and faithfulness and evidence that Holmes need a team to solve cases. Another symbol is of drugs. Sherlock Holmes has an unhealthy habit. He often uses drugs, but he doesn't deny that it has fatal consequences. Sherlock uses it only in the absence of interesting crimes. He claims, however, that his mind rebels against idleness. One might think that Sherlock is behaving foolishly, but he is also saving himself from his own mind. Drugs thereby symbolize the avoidance from depression and death. Let us now go through the themes of the novel. The emptiness of wealth is the first theme in the novel. One of the strongest themes of Sign of the Four is the shallowness of wealth and the destruction that can come through it. This theme arises again and again in the novel. As the Agra treasure directly and adversely affect almost everyone. Tonga is killed while fleeing with it, and Small is sentenced to life imprisonment. Additionally, both Thaddeus and his father spent their life constantly paranoid about wooden-legged men and about strangers in general. The Agra treasure even provides a romantic conflict for Dr. Watson, who feels that he cannot marry Miss Marston for fear that he will appear to be after her money. The next theme is of invisible evil. Doyle, like many other mystery writers, makes use of a writing technique that can be thought of as an invisible evil, the phenomenon of criminal acts committed by unknown agents. Doyle plays on the fear of the unknown heavily in the course of the story. Indeed, the sign of four itself carries with it mysterious and odious connotations. Also, the fact that Bartholomew was murdered in the locked room serves to heighten the tension surrounding the idea of the invisible assassin. The next theme is of returning, either literary or figurative, is prevalent in Sign of Four. The purpose of this theme is to highlight the importance surrounding the Agra treasure. Throughout the story, the appearance of the treasure led to direct and often tragic change in the lives of the character. Because of this, it is important that the removal of the treasure would cause the characters to return to their previous position. The next theme is of appearance. At first, the letter with the sign of the four is thought to be of no importance by Mary, and she brings it along to give to Sherlock almost on a whim. The letter appears to have little to no significance until it becomes the key to solving the case. A similar occurrence takes place when the trio enters the house of the letter writer. From the outside, it is sorry looking and dilapidated, but inside it is a marvelous of luxury and expensive items. such as oriental vases, tiger skins, and soft carpet. Next theme is of love. Though Watson initially has reservations about his love for Mary, he eventually confesses it to her, overcoming his fear after the Agra treasure is revealed to be lost. His love positively cannot be contained as it ejaculated from my very heart. One cannot help but wonder whether the author was not also having a bit of a laugh with this double entendre. Now let us understand the story of the novel. The story begins with the detective Sherlock Holmes injecting cocaine into his system in a 7% solution. His friend, Dr. Watson, frowns upon this and voices his concern. Sherlock has tracked marks running all along his arms. Sherlock explains that he finds the cocaine help him think, while Watson continues to disapprove. He worries that his friend's drug habits could lead to his mind being damaged, affecting the loss of his supreme detective skill. Holmes then goes on to brag about his status as the only unofficial consulting detective in the world. In the same breath, he declares his love for the simple fun of solving a mystery rather than for any potential fame he might derive from his skill. Sherlock reveals that while Watson has been publishing their cases, he has been working on his own writing, namely enumerating 140 different types of tobacco ash and how to distinguish them. He also demonstrates his detective skills by deducing where Watson was that morning, despite it being an unplanned morning governed by whims. Sherlock also demonstrates the difference between observation and deduction. He observed a reddish mold on Watson's shoes and knew which neighborhood such soil exists. From that, he deduced the rest. His friend had gone to send a telegram based on the state of his desk and mindset this morning. Watson puts his friend's abilities to the test with a watch that he recently received. Sherlock deduces that it recently belonged to his elder brother, who started out life at an advantage but ended up broke and a drunkard. At that moment, as they are discussing it, they are interrupted by the appearance of Miss Mary Marston, who has a case for Sherlock to solve. Mary explains that many years ago, her father disappeared on a trip. A few years later, an ad appeared in a newspaper asking for her address, which she gave, and ever since then, on the same day of each year, a rare and expensive pearl is sent to Mary. Then today she received a letter asking to meet her and not to bring the police. Mary asks Watson to accompany her. He agrees. Sherlock returns from his investigation and shares his findings with Watson. He believes that the death of Major Sholto, Mary's father's only friend in London, has something to do with the mysterious pearls she has been receiving. Somehow, Sholto's heir knows that Mary has been wronged in some way and may be seeking to rectify the problem. Mary arrives at Baker Street as planned, and Sherlock and Watson accompany her to the appointment with the mysterious letter writer. She brings a paper of her father with her that she hasn't been able to decipher. She thinks the paper might be pertinent to the case in some way. Sherlock examines the letter and puts it away for safekeeping. He, Watson, and Mary go to the meeting. There, a person asks them any of them are police, which they deny. The person, who is apparently a servant of the person they are meeting, then drives them in carriage. The trio arrives in a less fashionable part of London, aka a more run-down, working-class neighborhood. They are escorted inside a house by a Hindu servant. They meet Thaddeus Sholto, who tells Mary that her father died due to his heart after he suffered from shock. Thaddeus then recounts his story while sitting with the trio on the floor, smoking. He reveals that he is the son of Major Sholto, the man who knew Mary's father. Thaddeus recounts that his father was afraid of going out alone and had a pathological fear of men with wooden legs. He even shot at such a man, who turned out not to be whom he imagined. Thaddeus also says that his father alone knew the fate of Mr. Marston, which he revealed on his deathbed after receiving a frightening letter. He said that the pearls in the jar should be given to Mary, as he always intended. He regretted his terrible treatment of Marston's daughter and wanted to give her at least part of a portion of the Agra treasure. Major Sholto reveals to his son that Marston died due to an argument with him. When he got angry, Marston clutched his heart and fell backward, hitting his head on the treasure chest behind him. He was dead. Sholto revealed that he feared that people would think he murdered Marston. As his servant, Lal Chaudhar assumed, based on what he heard from outside the room. Sholto maintained that he did not kill Marston, but he decided to hide the body anyway. Thaddeus reveals that his brother and he searched for the treasure after their father's death to give Mary her portion, but they couldn't find it. So they sent her the pearl instead, as it was the last that they could do. Thaddeus reveals that his brother Bartholomew found the treasure in their house in the form of a pile of jewels worth around 500,000 sterling. I hope you all have been able to understand the story of the novel. Do like, share, and subscribe my channel for further updates. Thank you.